Welcome to Chatter Gang, a pod about the Magic and the Gathering. I'm your host, Hope Speakin', but you can call me Jose, and we appreciate you being with us today. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our episodes. Especially this one today. This is our first couple episode. This is like a real Brothers War kind of throwback because we have partner commanders on the same card. This is pretty cool for me. So I want to introduce two of my favorite people in the community, though I've never physically got to meet them in person. Something they don't know is I saw them from very far away at MagicCon Atlanta while they were doing their meet and greet, and I was like, oh my god, they look so cool. This is Brad and Steph from Steel City. Steel City.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was in Atlanta, I saw you all at your meet and greet, and I was like, oh man, they're so cool. And then I walked away because I was super awkward at the beginning of MagicCon.
We look
So
much cooler up close. So if you would have come closer, you would have realized, oh, wait, it's not that big of a deal. And then you would
yeah,
have been great.
I've said this a few times in the pod, but it's thanks to Sullivan that I even started talking to almost anyone that was content
Mm,
creating, because Sullivan was just like, everyone here's a nerd, and we're all here for Magic, it'll be fine. And I was like, you know
yeah.
what, Sullivan, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Guys got some good advice. Seriously.
he
Like,
really
yeah.
does.
Pretty active in some other Discords that I'm in. And yeah, like seriously solid advice for other creators pretty consistently.
And he's definitely one of those people that when he speaks, you listen, because he doesn't usually just like blurt out stuff for no reason.
Uh-huh.
So I really appreciate him, and I appreciate you all. I thank you so much for being here. For the folks who are listening, Brad and Steph had a judges talk earlier and talked about layering. So that is definitely not the easiest thing in
Mhm.
Magic to talk about. So coming from a long situation and come talk to me, I appreciate you all so very much.
Well, Brad did
Yeah.
all the talking there, and so I've just been sitting in a little, corner and waiting to unleash the extrovert that has been held back all morning. And so really, really, you're doing me a favor here.
Well, you know what? It's a mutual thing. We're all gonna have a good time here, I hope. So I appreciate it. And first thing I want to talk about being extrovert is you started Steel City how long ago? It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, two ish. That's a weird question, and it has a weird answer, and I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So we had no ambitions of doing anything with Magic the Gathering on the
Hmm.
internet, literally none. And so we were just like our normal human person names on the internet, and
Hmm.
like for most of forever. And then I met Sheldon Menery at a Magic the Gathering event,
Hmm.
and I was like, and he knew me as Steph from Pittsburgh, and so I was like, oh, I could just be Steel City Steph, and then he'll
Hmm.
just know if I show up in his stream chat, he'll know that it's me, and I won't have to be like, hey, it's the Steph from Pittsburgh. And it worked great. But then I kept being Steel City Steph on the internet and started talking on the internet, and then Brad started talking on the internet, and so we needed some kind of like a unifying name for us because people started asking us to be on their streams. And so the one
Yeah.
thing led to another. I'm not really sure what the exact origin date is, but it's been a little over 2 years at this point when we started actively talking to people on the internet and actually having some kind of like a moniker for what we do.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. Brad, do you have anything to add to that? Or as some couples do, that's not actually how it happened, and then you can tell your part.
Well, yeah, I'll say, and again, I don't have the exact date. We started
Yeah.
doing our own streaming thing, like not just guesting on other people's streams. When around the time that Mystery Booster 2 was the like convention, like MagicCon in a
Hmm.
box or whatever it was,
Yeah,
where they were sending out Mystery Booster 2 boxes to people,
which
and
was a little less than a year and a half ago.
yeah. And so that was our streaming, like limited games with that product was like that was what got us started on doing our own stream.
But
And
we
now,
were doing stream guesting a lot before that. Like
yes,
people had us on their
Gotcha.
commander. Like we were doing like 18 commander shows a month.
hmm
It was a lot. We do far fewer than that now, but
Yes.
we were doing some intense commander show guesting for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say joining commander shows, especially if you do it like a lot in a row, can be so tiring. So I can only imagine not really having an online presence before that and then doing all these things being fun, tiring.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Like,
I mean, for us, it really is, and it still feels this way for streaming. But it really is like just an alternative to watching television. Like we're still spending time together. It's still so. I think
yeah,
that's part of what differentiates doing this with a partner versus
yeah,
doing this like individually is that it really is quality time, even though we're like seated at desks next to each other. It's, I mean, like we're not sitting in front of a television, and I think that in many ways this is a way healthier way for us to spend time. So we actually love it, and it's not quite as exhausting as what it maybe would seem because we both love gaming, and so it's just a fun way to spend the evening most times.
I also do love that it's the two of you doing it together, and I have so many questions about that. But I'm glad that we laid a little bit of a foundation for where your stream started because Steph specifically, speaking of foundations, that's where the actual TikTok started, correct?
Yeah, they told me they wanted me to make content, and we weren't making content at that point. That was a weird
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, they asked us to be ambassadors for foundations, which was so cool, and we loved it. But then we were like, we're not actually making content, so what do they want us to do? And so we were a little bit perplexed by this because I think at that point I was just making I was making Twitter posts, like
Mhm.
informational Twitter posts about Magic the Gathering, and I think they were like, these people like teaching people things, and so thus, we should make them an ambassador. And I said, okay, Wizards of the Coast, thank you. And also, what do I do with this? And so yeah, I made a TikTok about it, and I think that was my first TikTok on the entire platform.
Mhm.
And it was fine. I'm not a good TikToker. I'm not a good TikTok maker. That was my and I short form content terrifies me to this day. But that was mostly just an effort of me, because we didn't have a stream at that point. That was like
Mhm.
a full year before we had our own no, we no, that was about the time that we started our stream.
Yeah.
But we didn't really have a presence then,
No.
like a presence on Twitch or anything like that. Then it kind of all happened about the same time, and we were like, oh crap, we should start making content if they want us to make content with this ambassador product, so let's figure something out. Yeah, anyway, that's where that occurred.
I love that, and obviously you being teachers of the game, starting with foundations as your first set feels very apropos. Yeah, so
Yeah, we thought so.
I love that. And what did you think with for that to be your first ambassadors? What did you all think of it?
Honestly, like it was for me, I really enjoyed it. Like there was a lot about foundations that felt nostalgic to me. Like it
Hmm.
was I know obviously a lot of the cards were new, but I think at that point we were coming off of a lot of like hat sets that people were kind of
Hmm.
complaining about. And so like to go back to like basically magic distilled to its purest form was a lot of fun. And so I had a lot of fun engaging with that
Mhm.
because of it. Like there was a lot of the cards reminded me of either because they were direct reprints from when I first started playing Magic, or just had a very similar essence to when I first started playing Magic. So yeah, like that for me was I think was the funnest part about being an ambassador for that set.
Yeah, yeah. And I honestly, one of the products that they sent us was the beginner box. And honestly, that was the advent of that product. Now they've
Yeah,
reprinted it since then in avatar form. But that product, I think, is the best product they have, well, one of the best products they have ever created.
I agree.
I think it is fantastic for teaching the game. We gave it away to my sister, who then learned how to play the game with her partner. We've since purchased a beginner box or two for other friends of ours, and taught them how to play. So that product is wonderful. And another thing we got a chance to do with that, because we were kind of thrust into that world without actually being fully prepared to be there. We were like, okay, we have an opportunity to kind of do this a little bit differently. And so rather than do the pat cracks on camera or whatnot, or whether, because one of the products that we got was Jumpstart.
Mhm.
We held a Jumpstart event, a Jumpstart preview event at our local game store, and took some pictures of people playing games and got some reactions of people playing their cards and whatever. And it was free to play, and we had a really great time. And so yeah, being able to do something cool like that with the cool products that came out in Foundations was a really neat thing for us, because I think if we just had the you know regular play booster box and then a collector booster box, we would have had fewer options to do cool things like that. And so,
Yeah.
but we were able to host a preview Jumpstart event before the set even came out, for people at our local game store. It was great.
That's so awesome. And I will say, I agree with you on the beginner box thing, especially value wise. And well, I shouldn't say value, cost of entry wise. It's one of the best products I agree that
Hmm.
has come out because sometimes Magic can feel so overwhelming for people when they hear, oh, you have to spend this much and this much and this much. And it's like, hey, here's a $30 box. Learn how to play Magic real quick
Hmm.
and see if you even like it. Because I've spent $30 on a ton more stuff that is way less fun than Magic. That
Yeah.
so I think I love I think something and this all actually kind of leads the whole doing the jumpstart booster stuff at the LGS and the gifting the boxes leads me to something else I want to talk with you all about, which is your heart for people. You all
Oh,
have a real heart for people, and I know it was November. You were donating funds to help people who are in need of for food assistance because the world we're in today.
yeah.
What is it? What is it about people that makes you two want to help the community, not just the Magic community, but the community writ large, so much? Because that's what I keep seeing from you two is you want to like help. You want to do the the Trans Lifeline or Trevor Foundation stuff when you do Commander
Mhm.
C. You do the donating that you did in November. You do other things as well. What makes you want to do all those things that you do?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say that I wish we could there was more that we could do, but we have a really cool opportunity. Now we don't have a ton of influence. Obviously, we're not macro influencers. We are niche of the nichest of the niche micro internet celebrities, right? Um,
Hmm.
but but we do have something, and that something is the ability to reach more people than the average human being, probably. And so I think it would be silly for us to not use that in some way to benefit the world around us. And I think I would feel really weird about that if I wasn't doing that. We spend a lot of time doing this. We spend a lot of time and a lot of energy. And I would have a hard time, I think, putting time and energy into like this much time and energy into anything that I didn't feel like was adding meaningful value to the world. Even if it's something as silly as making people smile or laugh about a card game. But yeah, so I want this to be like a value positive endeavor for the world around us and not just something that's fun for us, right? So yeah, so I don't know that that's something necessarily about people in general, although like of course I like people in general, but yeah, it matters, at least to me, it matters a lot to me to make this be something that feels worthwhile to a certain degree, maybe not like all the time. Some of it can be hedonistic and fun and just like, ripping packs and playing games and
Hmm.
whatever, and but to some degree I think we want it to be something that is beneficial to the people around us. So I don't know. What do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, like I think the longer we exist in this version of the world where, there's this growing divide in like wealth essentially, I think the more I'm realizing just how much we have the ability to support each other, and it's like that help's not going to come from somewhere else. So like I think the fact that we have the opportunity to do a little bit of that, of like helping other people who need help,
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's probably my favorite thing about the two of you. I think all of your content is amazing. I love the way you interact, but I think the heart that you have for helping, the heart that you have for wanting to do good in the world is something that I think, people need what should aspire to, and something that I find really endearing about you too.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
So
thank
no
you.
problem. I really do enjoy the stuff you do, which is why, as I try to water my streamer every time that you all are on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. No
We
problem.
brought our water bottle here just in case.
Good, good, good. I'm trying to find the redeem button now, but
Yeah.
it's hard. But as it comes to your stream in general, what I know you talked about, you could be watching TV, you're doing this instead. What made you decide to do the limited thing? Was it because, I mean, honestly, for me, I don't see it anywhere that two people crack packs and play together. Was it that you don't see it, or was that something that you did beforehand that you said, "Hey, let's film this," basically?
So yeah, so this for us, this all goes back to when the reason why we first started streaming, and with Mystery Booster 2. Steph and I were primarily, like probably 80% of our time playing Magic, maybe more, was spent on Commander.
Hmm.
But when, especially when we were at conventions, we would make a point to like play in some limited events, especially
Hmm.
like when, like, back in the origins of MagicCon with Magic 30, when they first
Hmm.
made the original Mystery Booster product. We did several, sealed, two-headed giant sealed, like those events, and it was so fun.
Loved it.
And like there were
Yeah.
a handful of cards in the set in Mystery Booster that were worth a lot of money, Like they printed Demonic Tutor, reprinted Demonic Tutor, and Mana Crypt, I think, was in the and so
The
like
playtest cards were worth money
and
for
the
a while
playtest
before they
cards,
got
yeah.
Yeah.
before they became old news.
But the set was just so large that the likelihood that you're going to open something super valuable is incredibly low, and the rest of the cards aren't worth much. But the set is so fun to play with. So
Yeah.
when they did Mystery Booster 2 and they made the like convention in a box where people could get their hands on a box of Mystery Booster 2, we saw people, on social media that were just taking their box and opening the cards to just get whatever was inside. And Steph and I were like, no, but this set is so fun to play. Like that's the whole point of this, is to play games with these packs, because the set is so because the size of the set makes the average value of a card so low. This is like the worst set to open just to have the cards.
I mean, its estimated value is actually pretty decent, but still, like the point holds is that you're like the reason why you should open that product is to have fun with it and not because you're fishing for any one particular card.
Yeah. And so it started because we bought in on the convention in a box. So we had a box
Plug
of
it
Mystery
together.
Booster 2.
Yeah.
And so it started as just like, we're going to do 1 or 2 streams just to show people that you can play games with these packs without, you don't need a whole group of 8 people. You can just take a half an hour, build 2 sealed decks and play some games and have fun. And then we just we enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
And people seemed to enjoy watching it, so we just
Yeah.
kind of kept doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, part of that was strategic too, right? So I won't pretend that all of it was, we really just feel this burden to show people that 1v1 met. Now, granted, that was a lot of it, but I do think that our roadblock to making content to begin with was just that like we wanted to add something interesting to the conversation that was already happening, because there were already creators that were doing some really great commander content. There are already creators that are doing really great things like these podcasts, like what you're doing, and they're excelling. They're doing a wonderful job at it. And so we were thinking, okay, so what do we add to the conversation then? What is so that's why we didn't get into content for a long time. That's why we kind of resisted the label of content creator for a long time, because we weren't actually making stuff. We were just like showing up on people's streams and being butts and seats for commander. But yeah, we decided that ultimately that if we did this, if we did stream playing 1v1 sealed, was a fun way to do that like first of all didn't require us to manage a huge schedule of rotating guests all of the time, and secondly would facilitate us doing something that we love to do already together, because we for a long time had this ethos that that buying booster packs and just to crack them was not something that we wanted to do. If we were buying booster packs, we wanted to be playing games with them. That is something that we have kind of like held to for a long time, that has kind of like allowed us to mitigate the amount of cards that are coming into our house, and yeah, just to have a reasonable flow of magic cards into and out of our house,
Yeah.
right? But it became more of a gameplay ethos than anything else, because like I really do feel like at this point you're leaving fun on the table if you're not playing games with draftable booster packs. And yeah, so I think like yeah, being like that being something that we became passionate about was another big thing for us. Reason why we've continued doing that is because like I really do think that like it adds a ton of value to an already very expensive hobby. And if you play games with your booster packs, and why would you not get extra free value out of it if you're already spending a ton of money on it? That's kind of what, and we've made some converts.
It's true.
Think, and I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. I do think that the way you all do it is fun, because you already, you have the dynamic of being a couple, right? Unless that's just, for show. If that's just kayfabe, then you got me. I'm a big
Yeah.
wrestling fan, so I mean, I've been fooled before. You all do a really good job of it. And I think my main question, the most important question that everyone wants to know is, Brad, do you cheat to get all the rares?
No, it's just pure luck, baby.
It's God's favorite. I don't know.
I'll say,
what else
Steph,
to say.
Steph, do you believe him? I was gonna say, Steph, do you believe
No,
him on that?
no, but I have been advocating that we start playing with booster packs that only have one rare in them. So the
Ooh.
normal draft booster packs from the days of yore, I have started advocating for playing with more of those lately, and my winnings have gone up. My winning rate has
There you
gone
go.
up. So I don't know what to say about that universe,
It's
but
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about so much of my success being reliant on me just having better cards than Steph. I guess a win is a win. So
yeah, hey, at the end of the day, a win is a win.
yeah.
I mean, coming from Northern Ohio, we don't see a lot of those in specific aspects. Which, by the
Uh,
way, I have to bring this around to this too. Liking two people from Pittsburgh as someone who lives or from around Pittsburgh, who someone who lives around Cleveland is like sacrosanct. So
Does
you
it
know,
help
it's
if we
like
really like Cleveland?
that does help.
Okay.
That does help. That does help. And I really liked Pittsburgh. Don't tell anyone. But but that's aside the point. So as it comes to you all have been playing for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
Since the tens, early tens, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
summer 2010 is when I started playing.
And then I was
Summer
about a
20.
year or so after.
Okay, so you all have been playing for some time. So I'm gonna ask you a question. I know people do the Mount Rushmore, but you know, it was originally, I think it was called Six Grandfathers. So what I'm gonna ask you to, all the sets that you've been around for, so let's not talk about anything prior.
Ooh.
And you can split it, split it 3-3, or each of you can do six. What are your favorite sets up to six from the
Okay,
time that you've
now
been playing?
question. Now we
Mhm.
used to have blocks.
Yes.
Now are we evaluating entire blocks or individual sets within the blocks?
Dealer's choice or player's choice, I guess, and I'm the dealer, so
Okay.
player's choice.
All right.
Whoever wants to go first, you're welcome
I'll
to.
start. One of my like I mean I love Return to Ravnica. I
Ooh.
love Return to Ravnica. I love that whole so Dragon's Maze is largely lauded as one of the worst sets of all time. And I get that. I totally get that. That's the third set in the three set block.
Yeah.
But Return to Ravnica and Gatecrash both individually were wonderful. And full set, sealed full set draft for Return to Ravnica is just great. I am so interested in Ravnica the plane. I am so interested in the world building that they've done with that place. I really feel like every set that they have gone to Ravnica in, I've really enjoyed, save for maybe Murders at Karlov Manor, but we don't need to care about that. Like, we can have a dud. We can have a dud. And honestly, I don't even think it was that much of a dud. There were some really great singles there, but
There
I think
were.
the story was maybe a little bit lacking. But yeah, but
Yeah.
beyond that, like I really do think that they've done a very good job with developing the world of Ravnica. I think it's a very compelling world and I love going back there. But that was my very first set that I purchased booster packs from is Return to Ravnica. And so I'm always gonna love that set. Most recently, I think my favorite set in recent years has been Final Fantasy. I'm not a Final Fantasy girly. I'm not interested really in the IP at all. But like I think that's a really and I think part of the reason why I love it so much is it's a really wonderful example to me of how much you can love a set and how much you can love playing games with a set and not have any ties to the IP. I think that you can do it. I think you can have a lot of fun with sets, especially in this era of Universes Beyond, by just playing games with the packs and enjoying the cards as Magic cards. And so I have some thoughts about how they've done some marketing and stuff recently with recent Universes Beyond sets. But I think in general, I really love the idea that you don't have to be super plugged in to an IP in order to have fun with it. And I think Final Fantasy was one of the best design sets that we have had in years. And I think in between for me, I really liked Ikoria. I
Okay.
really liked Ikoria a lot. I feel like I really liked the big angry monsters versus humans. I liked so even though they kind of beefed the companion thing initially, I like how it shook out. I really love what it did for commander deck building restrictions. I really loved the limited breakdowns for it. I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed it a lot in limited. I enjoyed a lot of the singles for building commander decks and things of that nature. I think it was before the era of having literally all of the legendary creatures forever and for always in a set. There was a reasonable number of legendary creatures. There were a reasonable number of other things. I think Mutate was very interesting, although it didn't quite hit where I think they wanted it to,
Mhm.
but I think it was very compelling and it's made for some interesting rules interactions that we've
Mhm.
engaged with. Yeah. So anyway, I think those are probably my top three since I've been playing.
Yeah, we have a on Arena on my Arena account because we would do a lot of like playing Arena together. There are a few sets that like in the collection tracker we have like 4 copies of every card in the set, and Ikoria is one of them.
Because we did
We
so
did
much Arena.
so much
Yeah.
Arena.
It was wild
I
how much
love
Arena we
that.
played. Yeah, it was so good. We really liked it.
I love that.
Okay, so I'll do three, and I'll follow sort of a similar scheme. I think recently, I know I meme a lot about how much I like Duskmourn because I do like Duskmourn. I think my favorite, but my I do think my favorite set from recent years was Dragonstorm, and an honorable mention to the original Cons of Tarkir block because that was also a blast. But that feels like cheating to have both of those on the list. So I'll say I because that was when I drafted a lot of Dragonstorm on Arena. and got so I was doing this thing with Dragonstorm where I was trying to get a trophy in the Premier Draft for each
Mhm.
clan, and I was only one short. I didn't get one for Abzan, but I got two for
Oh,
Mardu, so I feel like that should count for something. But
yeah,
I
I
got
think
at
so.
least one trophy for all the other ones. I think in terms of like older sets, I'm gonna go with Innistrad. I didn't play with Innistrad a ton, but I love the plane. I love like the theme and the world that they made. And I would love nothing more than to like a pipeline dream because these packs are so expensive. But like I would love to do a few sealed streams with that original Innistrad block.
Even
That'd be
Innistrad is largely like Innistrad by itself is lauded as one of the coolest limited environments or like one of the best limited environments you can play in.
Yeah.
Which is why the
Yeah.
packs are so expensive now because they're very hard to find because everybody wants to play limited or everybody wants to draft with it. Everybody wants
Yeah.
to do fun things with it. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's see, because like a lot of my so one of the things I noticed about the way that I interpret Magic now that we're doing so much more limited is like it has dramatically changed how I evaluate like sets and cards and planes. So like I'm trying to think of like a lot of what my favorite sets are recent because we've been doing so much so much limited.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I think honestly, just for the Steel City street cred, I'm gonna have to go with Mystery Booster 2.
Beautiful.
Like
I
honestly,
love that.
I think they did a much better job with the playtest cards and making
Mhm.
them like interesting in the way they interact with the game instead of just wacky, like, oh, look at how we're changing the rules. And they did some cool stuff with like the future sight treatments and the like Vanguard art on
I thought
the
that was neat.
legends.
I
That
thought
was
that was really
cool.
neat because
Mhm.
otherwise that art was not going to be seen or used by very many
Yeah.
people at all. So I think that's great. Now I was going to meme on you, Jose, and I was going to say Modern Horizons 1, 2, and 3, and
That's
then we'll
funny.
leave it there.
That's what I thought you were gonna say I thought you were gonna say Spider-Man because you still have so
Yeah.
many packs of it.
No, actually, we've played through our Spider-Man. We were very
Oh,
proud of
have you
that.
finally? Good
Yeah,
job. I'm
yeah,
I'm really proud of you because that
yeah.
that that was that
Mhm,
was
it was a set. It was one of the sets
yeah.
of all time. Still have a little block of 12 of it, but we try to keep like a block of 12 of most things. We'll dip into our one ofs occasionally, but we usually play through our multiples first before we get through any of the other ones. So
Yeah.
that Spider-Man might be on the shelf for a little while.
Yeah, I mean you have been trying to get through it as often as one can humanly
Yeah.
try to
Hmm.
play Spider-Man. So
Next time we need
I
to remind everyone
respect.
about Winchester draft.
Yeah, it's
We'll
true.
Yeah,
I'll
there you
crack
go.
up,
There you go.
crack up
Yeah.
with the Spider-Man again,
Yeah, yeah.
or
That
maybe Turtles. Who knows?
yeah,
Yep.
there you go. Hopefully, okay. So you, Jason and I, prior to the little peek behind the curtain, Jason and I, prior to this, recorded our Ninja Turtle review, where I have not looked at anything for Ninja Turtles. I assume you all have because you're amazing, spectacular content creators who need to know rules and things like that because you were judges previously, which we'll also talk about. But what is your inkling on Ninja Turtles right now?
So I guess a little peek behind the curtain in the Steel City. I have started to withhold my like studying of a format until Wizards releases their like design articles about it and like where they talk about like draft archetypes and things like that. Just because that like I said like that is so central to how I engage with Magic right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with
Um,
me.
it's different for sets that I identify with the theme of, but I'm not
Hmm.
really like neither of us are really that big into Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so like like that has not really like caught our attention yet. But as we have experienced with sets like Final Fantasy, that if the limited environment is fun, it'll dramatically change our opinion of the set. But
Yeah.
a lot of it is I'm still kind of waiting to see how the set shakes out from that perspective.
Yes, and I honestly, my approach has been very similar, and I think part of it is we want to view the set through the lens of the limited environment, and we want those resources available to us. We want the draft archetypes. We want all that stuff so that we can yeah, so that we can evaluate the set more holistically. I think that's good that's a good approach for us at least. But for me, part of it is also just information overload, and so I find that I'm still trying to learn and appreciate Lorwyn Eclipsed cards, and
Mm.
so the longer I can put off trying to adopt a new set into
Yeah.
my brain space, probably the better, right? But anyway, I so all that to say, I haven't done a ton of research into it. Now I do have some opinions about what I have seen, and so I think in general, I think I'm going to compare this a lot to Spider-Man, right? Because this is a
Hmm.
Universes Beyond set. It is a small set. It's about 190 cards, and it is Universes Beyond, and the primary draw for it is nostalgia to the nostalgia to the to the IP, basically. So yeah, that said, I find that I am nervous about the limited environment because of the Spider-Man experience. I found that and even in my pre-release, I had like 6 or 7 copies of the same common in my limited pool, and like that was like I had probably 2 or 3 commons for which that was true. And that's just
Wow.
kind of weird, right? That feels weird. That feels kind of bad whenever you're trying to build a deck. Like when all of the good creatures are legendary creatures and like even at uncommon. And so like you can't have more than one on the battlefield at the same time. And that provides its own challenges. And so I do see a lot of the same things, like design choices from that perspective that I
Mhm.
saw in Spider-Man and Ninja Turtles. I am trying to reserve judgment, so I'm trying to do my best with that. I do wish that there was more for us to latch onto in the promotional materials that we've seen so far than just turtles are fun and like pizza. I would really love for them to be highlighting, okay, so tell me as an enjoyer of Magic the Gathering, tell me why this set is compelling for me. Tell me why this is going to be fun to play. I would have
Yeah.
loved for that to be part of their marketing strategy, and it hasn't been so far. So it's been hard for me to find something to grasp onto.
Yeah. And as I'm listening to you both, I feel like you have a very different perspective from a lot of people that I've talked to about this, not just because you've been playing for a while, but because you're judges, right? Like you've
Yep.
been judges. So like you have a unique perspective in how does this set affect, like you said, limited. How does it go into how Magic has been through time, but also like how does it affect just the play of Magic in general? And I guess my follow-up question with all of that is, how do you feel when sets like this come out with what seem like, and maybe Sneak won't be mechanically unique to the set, similar to how web slinging was to Spider-Man, but how do you feel about mechanically unique mechanics or unique mechanics that we probably won't get to see again?
I mean, we've had them for a while, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
every set has had its own keyword thing here. Now, occasionally those keywords get adopted and become more broadly applicable, and some of them even get to turn into evergreen things. Like Scry is a great example of that.
Yeah.
That was not something that had language before, and now it's all over the place everywhere, right? So insofar, I don't object to set mechanics in and of themselves.
Hmm.
I think what I object to is how we've not. I feel like they're sprinkling in a lot of they're sprinkling in set mechanics where they ought not to be from other sets, right? And so if we were just having like a core set of like 5 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mechanics for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, great. That's easy enough. If somebody sits down for the first time with this set, they can learn what those 5 words mean and intuit it. But I do feel like lately they've been sprinkling in keywords that have not made an appearance in other sets
Hmm.
besides the one that they were released in. We've seen a
Hmm.
couple of those just kind of sprinkled in here and there, and I think that becomes challenging, even if it's not like even if it's just like a cameo appearance, right? I feel like though
Yeah.
like enough cameo appearances of mechanics, I think actually makes it a difficult thing for a new player to experience. And if the draw of the product is nostalgia for for the intellectual property, then you're going to be probably getting a lot of new players with it, and I think that's by design. But I think that you kind of have to couple that with it being a little bit easier to grasp. And I
Yeah.
don't know that they've done that super successfully. So I don't. So see, to answer your question more concisely, I don't mind the individual keywords for new sets. I think that's actually kind of fun, and it gives some fun flavor to the set, generally speaking. But I do. I think that we could scale that back maybe just a little bit to make it a little bit easier to understand, especially for Universes Beyond properties.
Yeah. Does it ever feel, I guess the word I would say is annoying to have mechanics that are essentially the same, but with like cloak versus manifest, where it's just like it has ward because it has a hat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does that ever get a little annoying, or is that just like it's progression of the game.
Yeah, I feel like there's part of it. Part of that is like theming. Like I know for a long time, Wizards was resistant to like there were some abilities that they had only keyed to particular planes. For example, Landfall
Yep.
was you only ever appeared in Zendikar sets. And then at some point they were like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. And so they would like put Landfall in, you know, now that any ability that is that we would call a landfall ability has the landfall ability word ahead of it. And I think
Mhm.
that's good, like as far as unifying the game rules. Do you think that so I think there is some consideration that Wizards is paying to like the flavor and the setting. And so like I don't know that Cloak was a meaningful improvement on Manifest. Same with like Manifest Dread. Like
I thought Manifest Dread
Manifest
was
Dread
really
was
good, actually.
Yeah, I
I thought
agree.
that was meaningfully better because you got to choose. You got
yeah.
to choose which one was manifested. Whereas in normal manifest, you were just kind of host if it was a land. You know?
Yeah, but that at least you know they that at least shares a word, right? Yeah, we
Sure.
someone
Yeah.
says manifest and manifest dread is very similar.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about like I understand the difference between ninjutsu and sneak, like they are
Mhm.
different mechanics, and I would understand more the desire to change the set or change the name of the mechanic if we weren't going into a set literally about ninjas. I
Mhm.
feel like they could have just kept ninjutsu and been fine. I
Yeah.
do think there are some fun things you can do with sneak, and so that's honestly like the one of the things that has me still interested to see where Ninja Turtles goes is the sneak mechanic. I
I
feel like
agree. I like that it can be on
Yeah.
instant sorceries.
yeah, I do like
Yeah.
that, but I do think yeah, I would prefer if they were going to make a new mechanic to just have it be a new mechanic instead of this is a mechanic we already have plus a little bit difference,
Yeah.
especially since a big focus of Magic right now is getting new players in. I
Mhm.
think having those slight differences can be confusing
Yeah.
Yeah.
to newer players.
We had a player that was playing the Edge of Eternity's precon the other day, and it was like his
Mhm.
second commander game ever, and he did very well. But it was the Jeskai counters precon,
Mhm.
and there were just so many things, like so many like keyword abilities from other sets. Like Discover 4. He was like, what does Discover mean? And like, so we had to be like, oh yeah, you do this, you do this, you do this. Now, granted, there was reminder text on the card, but it was perplexing and it was rightfully so. And I think that we just continued it. Like, I think seeing so many of those kinds of things in commander products also kind of adds to the complexity of the game in a way that I don't know necessarily adds value. I'm a fan of adding complexity if adding complexity adds value, but I'm not sure that that adds value.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think that was one of the nice things about like now that basically every product release is a standard product release. I feel like this is different, but you know, when we were doing like master sets and remastered sets and even Modern Horizons, I know that was wreaked havoc on the modern format, but it was so fun and
Mhm.
limited. I think those having sets that are designed for and geared toward existing Magic players that like add complexity to the game, like draw in effects from all over, you know, Magic's abilities to combine them in interesting and new ways. I think that's a great setting for that. I think if we're trying to bring in new players with fun, you know, universes beyond standard sets, I think those sets need to be like kind of in their own box. Like the mechanics in this set are all the cards in this set are only going to have these 4 or 5 mechanics so that it is geared toward new players. So I
I know
kind of
you all. Oh, go
go ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I
No,
was
go
just saying
ahead.
part of my I kind of wish we were doing back on, you know, 4 or 5, you know, 4 standard sets, but 4 or 5 standard sets, and then a you know so and so remastered set or like a conspiracy or battle bond, like
I
a
miss those supplemental products.
yeah,
I
like a
do. I do.
supplemental
I
set that can
do.
be a little bit more meaty of a Magic product
Give
without.
us Battle Bond 2, Wizards of the Coast, if you're listening, and I know you are. Battle Bond 2, gimme.
I actually I wholeheartedly agree. Wizards do it, and actually I don't know. You all must be reading my mind because the segue for this is impeccable. With how long you all have been playing up, coming up to the point where we are, you've seen a lot of changes in Magic as a whole. Talked about blocks earlier. We talked about the mechanics. We talked about not having the supplementary sets. What are some things that have changed that you feel like have been for the better or maybe for the worse? And I mean, you can reiterate on the battle bond and conspiracy and stuff like that, but like the changes in Magic that you've seen since the early tens that you feel have really impacted the game for the better, for the worse, and have impacted your enjoyment of the game for the better or worse.
Yeah, I'll give you a better and a worse. I think the better is that I think there has never been a time where there are more people playing the game, and I think that is
Mhm.
a direct like result of Wizards' like interest in expanding into other IPs.
Mhm.
And I think that so while I love Magic Story, and this is actually going to be my gripe, but
Mhm.
I love Magic Story. I love the Magic universe. I love the characters that they've built. I love the world that they've built, or the universe that they've built. And I wish, and to some degree, I wish that they would do more with it. I do think that one of the things I love about Magic now is I feel like there are more people playing it than ever, and that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for Lord of the Rings. I'm grateful for Warhammer, for Doctor Who, like all of those wonderful supplemental products, and even to some degree, some of the universes, like the universes beyond full sets that we've gotten, they've brought people into the game, and I have. And bringing more people into the game, that means there's like to some degree there's more people that who look like me at game stores who that I think that's kind of cool, and so a higher likelihood of having a diverse population because diverse population at a game store because we've opened the door to more people. I think that that's great. I think for me, I do miss the Magic Story, and I miss the block structure. That's the big thing. I think that I used to be very interested in Magic lore. I used to be very interested in knowing all there was to know about what was happening on a given plane, and who was fighting with who, and who killed who, and who ascended to godhood, and what like what all these different things that these characters were doing. It felt cool. Now granted, there were some times where it felt like, okay, I would really love to get off of Zendikar, please, or I would really love to get off of Ravnica for the third time,
Mhm.
please. There were people that had those sentiments, and I understand them, but I really do feel like we got to sit in that world and really got to know it. And I'm a big TTRPG nerd. I love world building. I love like imagining worlds that are not the one that I'm living in. And so that's fun for me, and that added a lot to the game for me. And I feel like I really haven't had that. Now it's not because it's not there. I will give credit where credit's due. The Wizard story team has done a really good job of writing the stories that we've had. I just think that we've suffered from disjointedness. I think we have a great bout of stories, and those stories are released in 3 weeks, and we have tons and tons and tons of information all at once, and then we are suddenly back to Spider-Man or back to Avatar or back to what, and there's not really story there, right? I would love for it to feel more normal to have Magic story pretty like fairly consistently again, and I think that's probably a value detractor for me.
Brad, how about you?
I think kind of in a similar vein. I feel like they're right now. I guess I'll go the other way. I'll start negative and go positive. I think there's this sort of I'm gonna say like the art of Magic the Gathering, not just like the card art, but like the artistic side of Magic between like the story and the world building and even like the way the sets are designed mechanically. The complicated machine that is the game of Magic the Gathering is very much at odds with capitalism. Like I feel like I would love it if there was more if Wizards of the Coast, like the game's designers and the world builders had more time to devote to creating the game and like the world surrounding it, and the just the product release is happening too fast. We have 6 or 7 sets a year that are, because they're all in standard, are all, it's like drinking from a fire hose, and that's not an uncommon, I think, concern to have about the game.
Yeah.
Whereas like I would love to have more time to draft Lorwyn Eclipsed, or I would have loved to have more time to do Dragonstorm or whatever. And it's just you just get your hands on one on your pre-release kit, and you're already seeing spoilers for 2 sets from now. It's just, I think I liked when, because like even before now, we were still getting 6 or 7 product releases a year, but it was like
Yeah.
4 standard legal sets and then like a supplemental set and a commander product, like so it was
Yeah.
like the same number of products, quote unquote, but it was still like very much there's 4 sets that you kind of have to care about
Yep.
to be an up-to-date Magic player, and then there's a couple things that you can engage with if you want to. But right now it's like there's just so much. You know, you've got a month and a half or 2 months to really dive into a set before it's off
Yeah.
to the next thing.
And we're people who spend a gratuitous amount of our time on this hobby, and we're feeling overwhelmed by it. I can only imagine people who try to engage with this casually how they're feeling.
Yeah.
So anyway, what's your positive thing?
I do really like how dynamic Magic has become recently. Like I feel like we one of the things that we've done is going back and doing our sealed streams with older sets. And there is a very stark contrast. Like the older sets are slower, grindier, more combat focused, and that's fun. But I like how, you know, in a given set you have a dedicated aggro archetype, you have a dedicated control archetype, you have a few like tempo-y mid-range archetypes, and then there's one that's just like, I guess blue green is always ramp, but
Or sometimes it's self-mill.
or sometimes
We
it's self-mill.
learned that. Yeah, and in Strad Remastered it was self-mill, which is cool.
And so I feel like I do enjoy the more like dynamic, multiple ways to engage with, I guess, especially in limited, the way that they're designing sets now.
It's a huge difference, honestly, in quality of design. I think it's now some of the cards and stuff like older limited environments are still fun, right? But I think there's a lot of difference between how they think about developing a limited environment now and how they thought about it in the past. And I think that they've gotten better at it.
Yeah. And I think like that, because of that, one of the, I think the benefits of the way that they're designing cards now is I feel like there have been people that have been convinced to branch out of their favorite formats. Like the Spotlight Eclipsed event that happened a few weeks ago was like the main event was limited and it was sold out. You know, they raised the player cap several times. And I think that's so cool that because I feel like for a long time it was like Magic is Commander. And to a certain extent that is still true. Commander is the most popular format for a good reason. It's very fun.
Yeah, but that's an 1800 person limited main event in Canada in February.
Yeah,
like and could you imagine if it was something in the United States that wasn't in the dead of winter in a very cold place? Like what?
Yeah,
They had
crazy.
everything working against them, and yeah. So I think that really bodes well for the future of Magic and other formats. But yeah.
So I do like that, and like we're starting to see a bit of a resurgence for Standard, which is cool. Yeah, I think I think the game being more dynamic, the cards that you're opening in booster packs being splashier and more fun are making people want to play those cards in other contexts.
Also, I really have to say you all make my job so much easier because you brought up the Spotlight, and I was going to bring up
We're here to help.
You would think that we planned this out, but really, you two are just amazing live acting folks. Like you're great. Thank you. So as it comes to the live events, like you said, you just went to the Lorwyn or the Spotlight Lorwyn. How many were you all going to events before MagicCon? Did you go to to the Grand Prix?
Yes, we've been Magic Event Gremlins for quite some time, you see. We did the Grand Prix circuit a little bit. We did the when they used to have opens. We like SCG opens, we'd go to those. But like SCG cons and stuff, they used to come through the Pittsburgh area a lot more often than what they've done lately, but because I think they've branched out to like other parts of the country, but we used to get SCG cons in Pittsburgh like a lot. We get Eternal Weekend still every year, and but yeah, we are still very fortunate, even though SCG has kind of branched out in terms of their geographic reach. We still have a lot of really drivable things that we get to go to every year, and that's been the case for quite some time. Now, there was probably a lull after we stopped because we competed for a little while. We went to those open events, we went to those Grand Prix and things like that to compete sometimes, or even if we were just playing inside events, but we wanted to play we wanted to play. We wanted to, play multi-round 1v1, cool stuff, right? And Yeah, I think we did that for a while. There was a little bit of a lull when we stopped doing competitive Magic and we were just doing Commander, and there were it wasn't always super structured at those events how and where and when you could play Commander. I think that
Mm.
event hosts have gotten better at navigating that in recent years, so it's been easier to just show up and play Commander if you want to. But
And even outside of Magic, well, like even in that lull when we were mostly just playing
yeah,
Commander, we still went to like Gen Con, PAX Unplugged. We had PAX East 1 year.
we're equal opportunity nerds,
Yeah.
as it turns out,
And but
so
there were
that.
magic at those events, and we
yeah,
would do some like Commander events
yeah,
at
or
those.
Mystery Booster, as the
Yeah.
case was.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, which one did you and did you, how much did you enjoy the Grand Prix and stuff like that when you were not, I guess, competing versus how much you enjoy Magic Cons? Because you all are like you said, Magic Con all the time. You're doing the spotlights. Like, how do you enjoy them versus each other?
I will say so we had a ton of fun doing the GPs but I think they're fun for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
So when we were doing the GP stuff, we would like drive out to like GP Jersey or something like that, and had just like a car full of friends from our local game store who all wanted to go out and play cards in the same event, and so
Yeah.
we were like. We piled into a car together. We like had a fun road trip. We like crammed into hotel rooms. We had like a really fun time. It was like it was a social experience, but it was like a smaller social experience, right? It was designed for us to probably hang out together mostly, but it was a friend thing. Like we went out and did that kind of thing with our friends. But yeah, Magic Cons and other things like that lately have become more about like, okay, let's make new friends, right? Now, granted, we've been making new friends for a very long time at these events, and even actually, I think about GP Jersey particularly fondly because there's a friend of mine that I still keep in touch with and still have like frequent phone calls with, who I met at Grand Prix Jersey. We were just opponents and we absolutely hit it off and had a ton of fun, and yeah, so loved making friends then, love making friends at events now, but really I think that's primarily what events are for now, at least
Mhm.
for me.
Mhm.
It's like meeting new people, playing games with new people, whereas before it was a little bit more of like let's go and do this with a group of our friends kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even our first few Magic Cons, before the era of Steel City MTG, because we've been to all the domestic ones since Magic 30.
Mm.
We did a lot of the like super fun stuff that you can only do at a convention
Mhm.
in
Hmm.
that that all of those events before we were Steel City MTG. And so now like all of those super fun things are still there to do, but we don't have as much of an impulse to do them.
We've checked the box.
Yeah. And so that frees up time for us to, you know, meet new people, play a lot of games of Magic just in like free play areas, or
Mhm.
do someone's cube. Like we went to a lobby con with the intent to play Commander, and someone was like, "Hey, I've got a mystery booster box. I want to play it. Do you want to do a draft?" And we were like, "Yes,
Drop literally
absolutely.
everything
Yes."
I'm holding and run to that table. Yeah. No, so I think our strategy for Grand Prix, I think, were also very different than Grand Prix are like SCGs whenever we used to go with groups of friends. I think those were also very different than our approach to Magic Cons now. And that's because I think we used to have like events planned that we wanted to do. We used to like, okay, we're signing up for this draft on this day. We're signing up for this sealed event on this day. We're going to do this two-headed giant. And like we kind of had those mapped out and planned and tickets purchased and all of that stuff ahead of time. Whereas for Magic Cons now, I feel like it's a lot more about just like we want to play as many games as possible. That part hasn't changed, but what has changed is our willingness to schedule them. We really just want to play, like we want to sit down in a command zone, meet as many people as possible, play as many games as possible with as many different people as we can. And I think one of the things we're really good at, and we weren't always very good at this, but I think we've become very good at it. I think playing games with strangers is a skill set, and I don't think that's a
Yes.
skill set. I think it's a learned skill set, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
And I think we've learned it, and I think we're really good at it, and I think we are pretty good at disarming new people, whether it's just from like silly couples banter and like ragging on each other every now and again or something like that. It's pretty like we found a really nice rhythm, I think, socially to help people to feel comfortable sitting down at a table with us, and then also just to then have really great social experiences while we're gaming as well. And so yeah, it's important to us to do that as much as possible, meet as many people as possible, because we really do think that we add value to like the experience of attendees, and that's how we do it is by like if they don't have any fun games that day, we want the game that they sit down and play with us to be fun and to be one that they remember fondly. And so if we can do that for as many people as possible, we try to do that. So
See, it goes back to the heart for people. I knew it. I knew.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I think it's also like I think we have, especially if we're being featured at an event. Now, I think everybody adds value to events differently, and so I would never say that this is the way that everybody should operate at their events, right? But I do think that if you're being featured at an event, I think it's your job to do the thing that you do best at that event and to make the event as wonderful as you can for the people that are going to be there. And so whether that's like whether I'm a cosplayer and I dress up in the coolest cosplay ever, I take pictures with people and I'm really nice to people whenever they ask me for autographs or something like that, or in our case it's just we just love to play games and we're really good at it and we're fun to play with, so we just are going to do that as much as possible. I think to some degree as creators who are being featured at things, I'd like to think that we have a responsibility to do that and to make the events great as good as possible with the limited capacity that we have to do so.
And I would say that you do a very good job at it from an outside perspective because
Thanks.
you all are very welcoming, endearing people. So I agree with that. What also you'd actually something I did want to talk about as it comes to the competitive stuff and the teaching aspect and doing what you do best. You all were judges. You all were competitive as it comes to playing Magic. Do you ever? And I know you do like the judge talks and you do some of the teaching stuff. Brad answers questions on the stream, and you know, to an extent, I'm sure that that scratches that itch. But do you ever have the itch to like actually go back to like judge an event or to be competitive in Magic again? Is there any like inklings to say I want to do this one more time or a little while longer or whatever?
So the short answer is yes. So I
Mhm.
at the spotlight event, I did the main event. I
Mhm.
felt like, if we were gonna be there, then and the main event was gonna be limited, then at least one member of the Steel City should probably be putting our money where our mouth is.
I
And
honestly would
Steph
have
was
loved to do that,
Yeah,
but
and Steph was, she was working the event, so she was
Mm.
actually making money. I was just
Exactly.
but yeah, and I honestly I had a lot of fun. There was back when we did the, like, Star City Opens and the GP stuff. Like, I had fun playing competitive, but I was like nervous all the time, and I was like worried that I was worried that I was going to make a wrong play, not because it was going to cost me the game, but I was worried that my opponent was going to think I was dumb, which is very silly. But I found when I was in the main event at the spotlight event, I didn't experience that. I felt like I was there fully able to enjoy playing Magic as if there were no prizes on the line.
you said you were like
Um,
chatty with your opponents
yeah,
too. You like were a nice opponent. You weren't just a butt in a seat.
yeah. And so, like, I don't know under what context I would do that again. Like, I probably wouldn't do something like that at a Magic Con, but I don't know, maybe I am definitely open to doing probably only limited competitive play. As far as judging, I don't I think I'm less on the actual, like, practicing being a judge. I found I really like answering rules questions and knowing the rules of the game very well. But as far as like knowing Magic tournament policy and handling disputes between players and investigating for cheating, I'm a little less excited about that. I did,
You're good at it. You're very good at it, and you get tapped occasionally to run RCQs and stuff for local
yeah,
game
I
stores when
did,
their primary resource is not there.
yeah, I did. There was a while where I was like
The person.
I was the person for a couple of our game stores, and then I had a lull basically. I
Mhm.
stopped doing it for a while. I don't really remember why.
It was, I mean, the judge program.
Oh
We
yeah, the
were
judge
very
program
involved in
for that,
the
right?
Judge Academy edition of the
Yeah.
judge program, and then that kind of got turned on its head. And there was just like a little bit less incentive. We won't get into the super drama with that, but there was a little bit less incentive for us to feel like we wanted to spend our time doing that. And so yeah, so we haven't been doing as much
Yeah.
locally as what we were in the past. But I think
I did.
that was the reason for that lull.
Yeah, and then so there was that lull, and then an opportunity came up for me. It was probably 6 months to a year later since I had last judged an event. There was an opportunity for me to do another one, and I was like, okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this event and I'm gonna run it, and if I have a good time, if I really enjoy it, then I will look for more opportunities to do it. And after that event was over, I was kind of like,
I think I'm
I
done.
think I'm done. I had my fun doing actual judging. I think I'm kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, for me, my experience is a little different because I have never liked judging competitive events. Brad liked it for a while.
Yeah.
Like he really liked the RCQ thing and liked like seeing the high level play and whatnot. And I just really never like that environment is stressful to me. The idea that my judge call getting something wrong was always like very intimidating to me. Where I always thrived as a judge was in like an FNM or like an I want to run your pre-release. I want to like welcome new players in. I want to help like teach basic rules of the game. I want to help correct things. I want to do like in competitive rules enforcement and regular rules enforcement, the main difference in rules enforcement is like ethos, right? So I want in competitive rules enforcement, I am correcting what's happening to and assessing penalties for what's happening. We want to get the game back to as correct of a game state as possible because the tournament integrity matters a lot, right? That is kind of like the ethos there, but for regular rules enforcement, it's a lot more about teaching players and about like, okay, so this is what happened, this is what went wrong, we're gonna make this as right as we can, but just know better for next time. And it's a lot less about like punishing, and I use that word harshly, or like I use that word and I don't like it, but it's not about like a punishment or a consequence for breaking rules. It's about teaching people what went wrong and being like, hey, this is what happened, we're just going to fix it, and then we're just going to move on and just know for next time. And I love that. That feels a lot better to me than like the whole like, hey, this is the infraction that you have committed, this is the penalty for that infraction, and here's how we're going to fix it. Okay, bada bing, bada boom, and I'm going to go report this infraction to Wizards. Now, that sounds a lot more intense than what it actually is. And we've actually done a lot of work to try to dispel the notion that like these infractions and like we're getting a warning from a judge is actually not the end of the world. But like, I still don't like giving them. I still don't like giving them. And so it's really never been my jam. Occasionally, I've been Brad's second in command. So if he's run an RCQ, I've been like the scorekeeper or, you know, answering rules questions in his stead, but if he was like in the bathroom or something. But yeah, occasionally we've tag team things, but I much prefer like I love like running events and stuff, and so that part of judging I really like. I just I never really got super into the competitive like rules enforcement actually judging for me.
How about the competitive playing?
Did a little bit of it. We both played modern and standard for a little while, but then everything changed when the Fire Nation tacked, and by that I mean
Yeah.
modern. And so yeah, we stopped playing modern really. I think after the first edition of Modern Horizons came out, we were like, what is this? How do we even do this? And we don't have the cards for Legacy. We don't have the cards for Vintage. Actually, that's not true. We could probably cannibalize some Commander decks and make a singular Vintage deck. But let's not do that though. But
Be fine.
right. Right. But no, I think if we, that's part of the reason why I'm so excited about because I don't think I'm averse to playing competitive Magic. I just don't know, like, standard's fun. I have, I had fun with standard on Arena. But I think for me, if I was going to play competitive, I would want to play competitively in a limited environment. And honestly, the fact that there's been more and more competitive events with that lately is really exciting to me. So I haven't been playing competitively lately, but that might change, and I am open to it.
Interesting. I like hearing that, especially because, like I said, you two have a unique sense for the game, from being in the judge program and
Yeah.
doing those things. You probably do you like Brad talked about earlier, like you don't want to mess something up and then feel stupid. Do you feel like you have an advantage in some of those limited situations over other people who weren't judges?
I don't think judging gives us an advantage, but I do think the mere well, I think it's maybe to some degree that we know the rules better, and so I
Yeah.
think like I think in general it's true that understanding the comprehensive rules of the game, like having an increased understanding of the comprehensive rules of the game, makes you a better player. So insofar as that is true, maybe, but I don't know that that's necessarily a judging thing. I think that's just more of a I'm a rules nerd. Well, Brad's a rules nerd, and I'm a rules nerd by proxy. I guess it's contagious, but yeah. So I think that to some degree we could have an advantage there, sure. But I think what really, if something does give us an advantage, I think it's just exposure. I think we play a lot of limited, and I think that while we're not playing the same format all the time, I think there are skill sets that you can learn from playing it frequently or from building decks constantly in a limited environment that I don't think you can just teach. I think it's something that you really do have to just kind of learn from practice. And part of that's just like learning how to feel out a limited environment, maybe one that you're not super familiar with, and learning how to adjust to it kind of on the fly, learning what cards are good to draft, learning what things, I don't know, learning how to evaluate cards in a pool, I think is also a skill set. And it's something I think that you get better with exposure. So yeah, I think that we maybe have an advantage there. I don't know if that comes from judging though.
Fair enough. I well, I was just watching you two. I also want to let you know I've learned a ton. I'm still not good at limited whatsoever, but I'm much better than I have been by watching you two. So if it's any consolation to know, you two have made me slightly 1% better player than I was.
There we go. Love that.
Yeah.
Take it.
So backtracking a little bit to the Magic Con stuff and the con stuff in general. You all do a lot of cons. And MagicCon Atlanta was my first one for a MagicCon specifically. And I've been to other cons, but they've been local. So, not as much to worry about. I get to go to my bed after I'm done, whatever. What about Magic cons and other big cons that maybe you have to travel for? Would it be good for people who haven't done it a lot or maybe have never done it? Or some good tips for them to know?
I think especially if it's your first MagicCon, the biggest piece of advice I would have is related to your schedule. There is a lot of really fun stuff to do at MagicCon, but it is very easy to fill your schedule up with fun events and then just spend the whole day go 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 and not like
And not
there's
feel like you experience MagicCon at the end
yeah
of the
like
day.
there's a lot of MagicCon that is not scheduled, right? Like you can go to see artists or you can talk to cosplayers, you can play pickup games of Commander, you can go to meet and greets for creators that you like there's a lot of stuff that like you don't have to sign up for. And so like having like I would say probably if you want to do a lot of the fun side events, pick one a day at most and have a thing on your schedule that you have to go do at a particular time, but like leave space for you to just go and experience the con without having to be in the in the tournament area playing Magic all the time.
Yeah, I think on that, like, if you're signing up for a draft, understand that that's a 4-hour commitment at least. That's probably like you're spending about an hour getting all the players situated and drafting, and then you're going to be building your decks, and then you're going to play 3 50-minute rounds, and like that's probably 3.5 to 4 hours. And I think a lot of people sign up for a draft and are like, oh yeah, I'll be done in a couple hours. No, you have to like sit. You have to like remember that it's a significant commitment. Yeah, so don't overbook yourself for sure. I think a lot of people do that. For me, I think my big thing is probably geared more toward like creators going to their first event.
I'm telling you, you're reading my mind because I was gonna follow up with that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think for creators going to their first event, I think my responses for this are probably different if you're like on the clock, so to speak, or if you're going just for fun. I think if you're going to be quote on the clock, I think you have some responsibilities. I think that I would like to think you have some responsibilities. That Wizards is very good about not saying like, okay, you have to do any one particular thing. They usually just kind of let you go and do whatever you do best. But yeah, I do think we have that responsibility to do that thing that we do best. But yeah, if you're just going for the first time and you're a newer creator and you're not really sure how to navigate the space, how to like how to make connections, or if that's even something that you want to do, yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice is like just remember that everybody like you're not weird for being nervous. I think most people are a little bit socially anxious at these kinds of things. So understanding like first of all that you're not alone in that, and then also just like boldness and having a plan, like having like the two things. Yeah, boldness and then having a plan. You're like you can be rewarded immensely for those things. Like the boldness to walk up to people who represent a brand that you really like and say, hey, like stick out your hand and say, hey, I am this person. Here's the kinds of things that I'm interested, or here's the kinds of things that I'm doing. I think your brand is really great, and I think it plugs into the things that I'm doing for reasons X, Y, and Z. Like, I'd love to sit down and chat sometime if that's something that you're interested in. I have some ideas for, how we can work together. Like being bold and doing things like that, and like having that kind of like having some kind of like a pitch in place if you want to like if you want things to turn into opportunities. MagicCon's a great place to make that happen. There's nothing that can substitute for FaceTime with somebody. And so I think that there are some really great ways to utilize that time for that. I don't think Magic is necessarily all about that. I think it's probably best spent if it's not all about that. But I do think that there are some really great opportunities there that, like, even smaller creators, that if they have a good idea of who they are and what they bring to the table and can communicate that well and concisely and are, bold enough to approach somebody, I think there are some really great opportunities that are out there just waiting.
So that's good information for me because I think I finally found my niche. I didn't find that before, so I think I'm finally finding. So I'm gonna write these down.
There you go.
Down so I can remember this for later. I appreciate that. I do. Actually, we've been talking for quite some time. You all are entertaining as heck. I just want to let you know.
Thanks.
And you all have made my job incredibly easy because you two bounce off each other really well. It's almost like you two work together all the time or something.
Yeah, it's like you can't get rid of me or something. Yeah. I don't know.
So I want to transition into the questions I typically ask at the end, which are super, super hard. And I forget my whole bit right now just because I have so many questions I want to ask you that aren't on my notes here. Because I first want to ask, before I even get into the normal things, what is the best part about working with your partner?
You can't see it, but I'm looking at him expectantly.
I could feel it. I felt it.
Brad, tell me what is so wonderful about working with me all the time.
I think that for me, it kind of goes back to something that Steph said earlier. Like, this is like we are going to be spending this time together anyway, right? Like, we live together, and so like, we are going to be looking for fun things to do regardless. And so having the opportunity to do a fun thing that is like a thing we both enjoy in a novel way, I think is like one of the best parts of it for me.
Yeah.
Like, we have, I have the opportunity to engage with the person that I love most in this world with my favorite hobby regularly, and like having constant access to that is great.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's great for me too. So I think that would probably be my top thing, but I'll give you a second one. I think I really love. So I'm really good at making friends in general with, like, whenever I go to events and whatnot. But because Brad and I are at these events together so often, I feel like it really does, like, I don't know, making couple friends is fun, and like meeting other couples who play the game is always wonderful. But like, yeah, I really love meeting people and developing real friendships with people alongside Brad at events, because I don't know, I feel like that's a really cool thing. And some of those things turn into really great relationships that we have for years after that. And they're not just friends with me, they're friends with Brad too. And I love making friends with people together. So I think that's really great.
Oh, I love that. That's tears, literal tears. So yeah, how do I follow that up? That was great. What is a favorite card for you all? What is a favorite card of all? It could be similar to what we talked about since you've been playing, or of all time. What is your favorite card?
All right, so I have to say Fleam. No, I'm just kidding, but also not really. So I've never cast Fleam before in my life, or Green Goblin, as the case may be. But I just really feel like we've gotten a lot of mileage out of that card on our stream, especially lately. People really love bringing Fleam out onto my playmat for emotional support for me, and I have just developed an unreasonable affinity for that little gremlin, and I don't think that will ever change. So love that. But it's a real serious answer, as serious as I can be about a Magic card. The Great Aurora is probably my favorite Magic card that has ever been printed. I think it results in ridiculous game states. I think it's a warp world that is friendlier, which I think it is just friendly enough to make it actually fun to play against. I think people think that green doesn't have board wipes. They're wrong, and the board wipe that it has costs a lot of mana, but it does literally everything you want it to do in a green deck. I think it is just very fun. So that's probably, I would say that's my signature card. I think that is my favorite card to actually play in a game.
I love that so much. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how much I love that. Brad, how about you?
So my favorite card is one that I haven't actually gotten to cast in a very long time, and it makes me sad. Just because it's not I up until recently I haven't had it in a commander deck, and it is a rare from a set that from like 2015, 2016,
Hmm.
something, whenever Shadows over Innistrad was. And but it's a card called Spell Queller. It is a 3 mana 2/3 flyer with flash, and when it enters, you exile a spell of mana value 4 or less, and then when Spell Queller leaves, the owner of that spell can cast it without paying its mana cost. But it represents like it is like the signature card of like my favorite strategy, which is like Azorius Tempo, where like I am playing evasive creatures that have interaction staple to them. It scratches my like desire to play a control deck, but in a way that is
Progressing the
actively
game.
progressing the game
Yeah.
because I have now like my counter spell is also a 2/3 flyer. It was like a linchpin card in my favorite standard deck that became my favorite modern deck that is now my favorite pioneer deck. And just like a few months ago, I built an Esper Spirits commander deck that Spell Queller is in, despite the fact that Spell Queller is not good in commander.
But it's gonna feel so good
Yes.
If
when
you
you get
get
to do it.
somebody,
I'm
you're just
so
gonna.
excited to cast
You're
it.
like, oh, this is perfect. Do you think that I know you say you don't think it's good in Commander. Do you think there is an opportunity that you will get to play it and it's like somehow breaks the game open for you? Or is that just like a hope that you would have that it would?
I feel like probably best case scenario is like I get like a Wrath of God. Actually, honestly, one of my favorite things about Spell Queller is that I can get Supreme Verdict with it. Because people are like, wow, you can't counter Supreme Verdict. And I'm like, ha ha ha, I'm gonna exile it instead. But yeah, I feel like best case scenario is I have a winning board state and I counter someone's board wipe with it, and then I use it to murder them.
See, that's nicer than what I thought you were gonna say, which is I'm gonna count. The best case scenario is countering my wife's 4-drop commander.
That's
I would
literally
also
I
do
was
that
about
in a
to do
heartbeat.
the same
Yeah.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
No, well, yeah. It's actually follow-up question to that stuff. Do you keep it under the spell queller so you can cast it for free later, or do you pay the extra that you have to later?
I pay the extra later because I don't
Okay.
want to have to be beholden to his whims for when I get my creature back or not.
That's
The more in control
very
of my
fair.
own destiny I can be in a game of Magic the Gathering, the better, even if it costs
That's
me more mana.
that's fair. Next question. What is a favorite deck? It doesn't have to be Commander. I know typically, when we talk about decks, people talk about Commander, but what's a favorite deck you've had ever or maybe currently have? And then follow-up question. When you play limited, has there ever been a deck that you liked so much that you kept it intact?
Wow. I don't think we've ever kept a limited deck intact.
I
Okay.
haven't.
I
Okay.
think we are very, especially since we've been playing so much sealed, we are very practical when it comes to keeping our Magic cards in our house.
Okay.
And so really anything that is $5 or more that we're not immediately going that's not immediately going into a commander deck, we put on mana pool. Anything that is $1 to $5-ish we put into a box and we take with us to like an SCG con or a face-to-face event or something like that. And then anything that is below that's a rare, we will also take to a face-to-face event usually, like but just get a bulk rate for it. And then any of our commons and uncommons, we have a friend that will just take them for free and will give them to his kids and or the local library. And like that's just so anyway, we get rid of we're very pro getting rid of Magic cards in our house so that we don't accumulate an unruly mass of things. I feel like also like the idea of being practical is also very important to us just in general. And so I think keeping a limited deck together that we don't really have an occasion to play except against each other, I think I would just rather be playing something else rather than, because I feel like some of the fun in limited is like the building of the deck and stuff. And once that's not there anymore, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we've already done this. So yeah, I don't think we don't keep them. So that's probably a less fun question or a less fun answer to your question than what
Oh,
you
it's okay.
wanted. But we do
That's
have
okay.
good commander decks though, and we can talk about those all day long. So
Please do.
I think right now my favorite commander deck to play is I have a baby. My baby deck is a mono green snakes deck, and it's kind of the thing that I'm known for. But lately, I think I've been having a lot of fun. I have this Boros deck, and it's Boros Stuffy Doll Shenanigans deck, where I basically take all these creatures that have the Stuffy Doll effect. Whereas if it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to something or somebody else. I make them indestructible, and then I just do some weird damage redirection shenanigans to like laser beam people, and it feels really fun. And I feel like my entire board is full of rattlesnakes that bite you back if you bite them. And I think I don't know. Now probably doesn't sound like the most fun thing to play against, but I really do think it's fun. And it's a really interesting way to play Boros that I don't think I've seen anybody else do. So
Yeah,
Wizards, if
I
you're listening, we need more cards in Boros that specifically require people to attack you.
yeah, there's a lot of cards in Boros that require people to attack. But there's not a lot of, in fact, I think there's only 2 cards. There's Gideon, and there is a card called Trove of Temptation that requires people to attack you specifically. And yeah, I would like more of those, please.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I actually agree. Goad's nice and all, but when you have a creature that you definitely want to be able to block with, so you can do the stuffy doll thing. Yeah, Brash
Uh-huh.
Taunter, stuffy doll, those ones. Like, yeah, I think
Make
that's
them attack me when they don't want to, please.
please exactly. Brad, how about you?
Okay, so my favorite commander deck is helmed by Noyandar Royal Shaper, he's a guy that when you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can put 3+1/+1 counters on a land you control, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental with haste. So it's sort of like earthbending, the OG earthbending, it's an Azorius deck. It is the sweatiest control deck I could put together. It is counter spells, single target removal, card draw, and
It's funny. People see the commander and they're like, "Oh, that's so cute," and you're like, "No, it's not cute. Really, it's not cute."
Since the advent of the bracket system, I feel like I've had fewer opportunities to play it because there's not as many people that, at least in the circles we frequent, that want to play like high tier bracket 4 nonsense. But recently, actually, the last few months I've had lots of opportunities to play it. But the main goal with that deck is to put 9/1/1 counters on an Inkmoth Nexus, and then spend 1 mana to turn the Inkmoth Nexus into a 1/1 flying infect creature, and just 10 poison counters. But it's an answer to your other question. This is not a limited deck that I have together. But if there was ever a limited deck that I would have wanted to save, I had this back in Bloomborough. I had this absolutely nasty blue-green frog deck that just was unstoppable.
It was on Arena.
It was on Arena,
Yeah.
yeah. So I didn't save it because we don't really do that. But if there was, that's what I occasionally reflect on. Like, dang,
That was one
good.
that you loved because it was a draft and nobody was drafting frogs,
yeah,
and
no
you
one was.
literally just got all of them.
I got so many good frogs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Your pack 3, pick 4s were insane.
Yeah,
in that one.
It was crazy.
Actually, a side quest question for Steph specifically, and Brad, you can also answer this, but I saw Steph post about this because we're talking about frogs. Yeah, go ahead. You already know where I'm going with this. Go ahead.
Oh, is it the spore frog thing?
No, not the spore frog thing. The amphibian who's a turtle in Ninja Turtle.
Oh yeah, I got schooled by people who are actual fans of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Apparently, it is a thing in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle universe that, like, in the TV show, I guess, where they just got it wrong, and it was like a joke.
Wait,
It became
really?
a joke. Apparently in a show about turtles, nobody bothered to understand that turtle, like what kingdom, what kingdom, phylum, whatever it is in the animal kingdom turtles belong in. And they just went with amphibians because they thought that turtles can be in water and on land, and they are amphibious, and thus they must be amphibians. That was their thought process, I guess. Now, a lot of people have been like, "Oh, it's a mutant," and that's like, the card in question, I believe, is a mutant ninja turtle, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a mutant. Then that it can be an amphibian if it wants to be." And for me, the word mutant for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles means they are roughly person-sized, and they are sentient, and they are also ninjas. I feel like mutant can cover those sins of that in that situation. I don't think it's meant to cover they have slimy, non-scaly skin and also lay eggs in water. I don't think that's what we're going with that mutant thing, but maybe it is. Who am I to know? I don't know. I'm not a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle girly.
I agree with you on everything you just said because I refuse to think that Storm or Gambit or Wolverine are turtles / amphibians in some way.
Right.
I can't agree with this.
Yeah, the word mutant does. I don't think we're talking about how slimy their skin is, or whether or not they lay eggs in water with that. So yeah, Experiment
the
Crash might be fine with if you decided that about him, but yeah,
yeah
everybody else I'd have questions. Yeah.
the lack of understanding what an amphibian is doing a lot of heavy lifting for those people, I assume.
I agree.
All right, moving past, I saw that post and I was like, man, this has messed up my day.
I
Just
love
knowing
that
this card exists.
I love that my immediate reaction was, oh, is this other frog post?
This is
Turns
Spore
out that
Frog.
I post about frogs more often than I
Frogs
ought
Frog,
to.
Wait, what is the
Yeah.
Spore Frog one? Because I
Don't
actually
even
don't
worry
remember
about
this
it.
one.
I was being an internet gremlin one day very recently. We're fine.
I'll go search it later. Everyone go
There you
search
go.
actually. What is the card that you play most often in your decks? Doesn't have to be colorless. Just like if you play green, this green card goes in every deck. Blue, same thing.
For me, it's got to be Vexing Bauble.
Oh
This
my
is
god.
this little 1 mana artifact that says when a player casts a spell, if they spent no mana to cast it, Vexing Bauble counters it.
No, see, I think he quoted the Oracle text wrong because really what it says is "F you, Atali players."
Exactly.
Yeah, right. It
Pay,
does.
hashtag pay for your spells.
It's
Hashtag play with your packs and hashtag pay for your
yeah.
spells.
It says hashtag CDH players you thought.
So, but
Okay.
it is fun. Like it sometimes because you can also just pay one and tap it and sacrifice it to draw a card. So like if you're not in a game where it's like relevant, you can just cycle it away and that's fine. But like it also sometimes catches people off guard. Like
Yeah.
I'll just play it on turn 1 or whatever, and then like turn 7 or 8 rolls around and someone's like, "Bolus's Citadel, I'm coming for you," and I was like, "Okay," and they cast like, "I'll pay 6 life for this spell." I was like, "Cool, it's countered."
That's
Force of
amazing.
will.
Every now and then you get them, and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad
Those
loves it, and he giggles like a child when it occurs.
I wholeheartedly believe that. I was gonna say those Pantlaza decks hate to see you coming.
Yeah,
They sure
they're not
do.
ready for me. Wizards has been printing too many cards that just say you can cast spells for free, and I say knock it off.
And you said no. You're paying for those spells. How about you, Steph?
So for me, a lot of people really so there's a lot of cards from the Lord of the Rings scene boxes that people have really latched onto, right? So Legolas's Quick Reflexes,
Yep.
Galadriel's Dismissal, those cards like people have really latched onto those. But one of the cards that I feel like people need to latch onto that they haven't latched onto that I have latched onto is Mists of Lorien. Mists of Lorien is a very weird card and it can turn into a one-sided board wipe if you do it right. It's a sorcery speed card, so that must mean it's fair. But you pay 3 mana for it, and then it has a cost of 1 blue to replicate it, which means you can copy it for every time you've paid the replicate cost. And it says return target non-land permanent and each other non-land permanent that shares a mana value with it to their owner's hands. And so if you replicate it, you just choose a 1-drop, you choose a 0-drop, you choose a 5-drop, you choose a whatever cards on the board that are not easily sacrificable, that have mana values that are not the things that you want to keep in play, or maybe just things that are particularly disruptive to you, and you just return them to their owner's hands. And it can be like early game, it can be really good for the person that's making a crap load of tokens. Late game, it can be really good for the 7 or 8 6-drop creatures that are on the board, of which you have none. And yeah, it can just, if you choose the right numbers, and I think the game of choosing the right numbers is also really fun. But like if you choose the right numbers, it can be like devastating for your opponents and really advantageous for you.
I've actually never seen that card. I really
A lot of
like
people
that a
haven't.
lot.
Got to buy it. It's very
Yeah.
cheap.
Noted.
Those
All right.
scene boxes just kind of flew under the radar.
Well,
They did.
Legolas's Fast Reflexes and Galadriel's Dismissal did not, but there are a lot of things in there that did.
Well, it's people can only pay attention to 1 or 2 things at a time. So that. All right. So Steph, you already kind of answered the next question, but if you have another one, by all means, what is a card people should play more often?
Yeah, I like that one. Let me see. I'm giving you all my good ones here, Jose. I got to keep some for my. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Gatekeep. Please gatekeep.
I'm not gonna gatekeep. I'm not gonna gatekeep. I think. Actually, I'm gonna need a second to think about this. Do you have one?
I just thought
Okay,
of it. I
all
had to
right.
think about it, but I just thought
I'll
about
need
it.
a second.
My answer is Mirror Weave.
Oh shoot.
So
Yeah,
this is it's
Yeah.
a 4 mana instant, and it is the colored pips in it are hybrid white blue. So if they change the hybrid rules, your options get much bigger. But it is choose a creature, and then choose a non-legendary creature, and then all other creatures become a copy of that creature until end of turn. And it sounds like like for example, one of the primary things I use it for is in my Merfolk deck. If I have a Lord of Atlantis or a Master of the Pearl Trident or some kind of like Merfolk Lord, I can just be like, bam, all of my creatures are now Merfolk Lords. So all of my creatures are, basically base power and toughness equal to the number of creatures I control. And it's super fun because you can, it's a great way to. It's like a 4 mana Crater Hoof almost, and it's cool. However, it's one of those cards that the more you look at it, the more it does. So, for example, also in my Merfolk deck, there's Lull Mage Mentor is a Merfolk that says when you counter a spell, you make a 1/1 Merfolk. You can also tap 7 Merfolk you control to counter a spell. So, if I have at least 7 Merfolk in response to someone casting a spell, I can turn all my creatures into Lull Mage Mentor, counter that spell, and make 7 Merfolk, which then I can use to counter the next spell. Or one of my other favorite things you can do is if someone is like, well, I'm going to attack you with all my creatures, you can be like, cool. All of every creature is just this 1/1 Saproling that Steph has. So,
or is this 0/0 Hydra that Steph has with
yeah,
5/1
like
counters on it?
there are so many weird things that you can do, or like if someone you can use it to turn off a synergy piece that you don't want. Like it's one of those cards that for any one given thing that you use it for, it's probably overcosted, but the sum total of things you can do with it is wild.
The fact that it's instant speed is
every time I cast it,
crime.
I'm doing something different than I was doing the last time.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know why my immediate thought was turn everything into a Blightsteel Colossus.
Yeah, you could do that. The trick is it does turn everybody's creatures into that thing. So there is some finesse to it. But yeah, if you attack with a bunch of creatures and they're 3/3s or whatever, and people don't block them, then you can be like, cool, before damage, they're all Blightsteel Colossuses now. Get wrecked.
Instant speed crimes.
Yep.
Instant speed crime.
There are a lot of those cards that do something very similar at sorcery speed, and they're like, oh yeah, no, it's better because it breaks the legendary rule and all that's fun. No, the instant speed is the maker or breaker, and it is insane.
It is so good.
Yeah, that's very true. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Steph, did you think of one? Another one?
I did, and the card is also it's came out in the same set. Mist Meadow Witch is the card that I think more people should play. I think that is also another card that is one that gets better the longer that you look at it.
We like our white blue Lorwyn Kithkin card.
I guess maybe
right?
we're just really Lorwyn pilled right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So first of all, a little soapbox moment. This creature or this card depicts a legendary creature something that should be a legendary creature in the world of Lorwyn. Her name is Olka, and she appears on a lot of Magic cards and is referenced by name and has no actual legendary creature card. I think that is a crime, and I think Wizards should answer for it. But anyway, the creature, it's a 2-drop 1/1, and you can pay 4 mana to remove target creature from the game and then return it to play under its owner's control at the end of turn. Now, this doesn't tap the creature. It doesn't say target your own creature. It doesn't say you can only do it at sorcery speed. It doesn't return the creature immediately. And so those things all together mean that there are just so many different applications for it. You can use it to blank an attack, like an opponent's attacker. You can use it to get a cool re-ETB for your thing. You can use it to save multiple creatures of yours from a board wipe. It is very cool in the versatility of it. I don't think we see it super often because the ability is 4 mana and I can blink things for cheaper than that. But it is reusable. It is versatile, and I don't think we see that level of versatility on many cards that have a similar effect. So really like Mist Meadow Witch, and it needs to be legendary, and that's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, her name is literally on the card itself.
Her name is on many cards. Olka is referred to on a great many Magic cards, and she just, I'm going to soapbox at you, and I'm not going to do it, but yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. No, I understand. I understand. Okay, so speaking of mechanics, is there a mechanic that you think Wizards should bring back that hasn't been around for a little while, depending on how you feel? I mean, a little while could be, we've had 7 sets in the last year. That feels like a little while, but little while at this point.
I'm going to keep being Lorwyn pilled, and I'm going to say Island Walk.
What? No.
I want more Island Walk.
No,
please.
you don't.
Give
you
me Island Walk.
You don't need more Island Walk.
Do you only want Island Walk, or do you want general land walk back?
I don't have as strong an opinion about the other lands. I wouldn't mind having more cards with Planeswalk, just because then I could make a Planeswalker deck, but it's not a Planeswalker deck. That's really funny. PLAINS Walker deck.
Wow.
But yeah, I mostly just I want Island Walk for my Merfolk again.
That's fair.
I want them to make Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, but it's islands.
That will literally never happen.
I know it will
not.
Also
exists, and his name, and he's a big 8 mana Leviathan.
That's true.
That's true.
That's you got me there.
I do.
That's true. How about you, Steph?
I would love to see more companions.
Oh, companions are.
That was a good answer. I was hoping you wouldn't say it, but yeah, no. I think I love what they do to Commander. I think that I like that they fixed it. I like that they like the 3 mana to put it in your hand. I think that's great. Yeah, I think the deck building restrictions that they give us are very cool, and I think they're
Yeah.
underutilized. Now, Imori is cool, but I don't think I've seen an Imori deck that actually functions well. And that makes me
Yeah.
sad, but I think that there's some room there that's unexplored. I've seen exceptionally few Zerta decks, and Brad has one of them, and I think it's very good. There's a lot of people that have done some cool stuff with Obosh and have done some cool stuff with Garuda. I love that those two creatures meet their own restrictions, so you can play them. I've seen some really cool Luris builds in Commander. So I've seen some like
Yeah.
someone do Yoshimaru the parrot, the pirate parrot thing, and Luris, and they just called it Cat Dog Bird, and I thought that that was very cool. And then there's also like Ailey Tireless Pilgrim you can do with Luris. There's a couple other ones like you can do the what's his name, Lotho.
Oh yeah,
You can do Lotho, which is like people. I mean, I would never subject somebody to that willingly, but you could. But there's options for it now that we didn't always have. I think for a long time in Orzhov it was just Eiley that you could do things with, but now there's options, right? And so
Yeah.
I think I would love to see some more companions. I would love to see some restrictions that are maybe a little bit commander friendlier. I think it's sad that there's not a way to play Yorion as a companion in a commander deck, and I think they messed things up with Lutri. I would have loved to see just maybe worded a little bit differently and been a little friendlier so that we could have Lutri as a companion in commander. But yeah, I want to see some cool deck building restrictions, and I want to see players be rewarded for diving into that in a commander setting.
Yeah, I think they have an opportunity to do if they limit it to like commander stuff, which I think is really where it shines because it just sort of wrecked other constructed formats. But like they have the opportunity to do what they're doing with Eminence, where like they make a new commander with an Eminence ability that is way tamed down. Like Sidar Jabari is just like a pretty low consequence Eminence ability, and not have to worry about it ruining other formats, but still giving like because the deck building restriction honestly is like that's like the cool thing.
Like what they could do is they could say like companion to Sidar Jabari or companion to you know what I mean? Like you
with
can
partner with
exactly you can have companions that only exist with someone if they're in your command zone, and then that would solve the problem of legacy and vintage issues with companions. Like there are so many cool things that they could do with this, or even just like they could have restrictions that legacy and vintage players maybe wouldn't want to have. I think there are some cool things that they could do with it, and I think they understand where they went wrong in the design the first time around, and I think that they're equipped to do it better the second time around, and I just want to see it. I want to see it.
Okay, I have an idea. Go with me on this journey, and then I have one more question for you all. And I, by the way, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. This has been fun. If they ever do, well, I guess they could do it with Marvel too, but this is less of a Marvel thing and more of a DC thing. And again, go with me because it's the Universe Beyond thing. But what if they did a DC set? They should take your idea for the companion and do that with the sidekicks.
Ooh, okay, I'd be down.
Yeah.
So like Batman companion Robin, Aquaman companion Aqualad, things like that. I think that like I didn't think about that until just now when you said that, but I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, rather than being a partner, because I do think partners in the command zone are inherently very, very, very good, and I think we need to be very careful with designing those. I think we need to maybe be more careful than what we've been with designing those. But I think that like putting them in a companion slot would be so cool. I don't think it needs to be an animal in order for it to be a companion. Yeah, I'd be down with that.
I think that would be just thinking about it now. I mean, and to be fair, most of the like Batman, like Bat, he has all the Bat family, and that's technically an animal, I guess. Would they be Bat people? Never mind. I'm not getting into all that.
I mean, Spider-Man's more spiders, so
you know what? Don't do the DC set because I don't need 97 different Bat family people, honestly, in one set. All right, one. So my last question, and again, this has been really fun. Thank you so much for the time that you two have provided, especially after our doing all the stuff that you did earlier. But as it comes to content, life, magic, everything in between, what are some goals and hopes and dreams that you have for yourselves, for your content, for magic in maybe near future, maybe far future?
Okay. You got something you want to... I'm about to wax poetic about this. I want to give you the floor first.
Take it away.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I have taken the last about year and have dove into this, into making our content operation financially viable, right?
Mhm.
And so, which it requires a lot of work, right? Because our content
Yeah.
is based around opening real physical packs of Magic the Gathering, and those things
Mhm.
cost money. And so, there is something like we had to figure out a way to at least make it cost neutral, if not value positive. And so, I've spent about the last year of my time really making that work, and like finding brands who want to come alongside us and work with us on that. And so I think we're in a good place with it. We're in a place where it's sustainable. Now, for me, it's just going to be a question of whether it's sustainable enough for me to continue to put so much of my time and energy into it, because I did give myself a little bit of a timeline, because I'm not working a real girl job right now. I'm just being a silly little internet gremlin right now. Brad has a real person job because we still need to eat food, that's what I've been doing with my time, and I make jokes about it, but really it has been a job, and it has been like working with brands and making sure that our content is going out at the times that we need to, making sure that we're delivering on the things that we say that we're going to be delivering on, scheduling our event appearances and networking and all that fun stuff. Like, that's been stuff that's really been occupying my time. And so, as far as goals for me, my goals are pretty practical in terms of like I have a financial viability benchmark, I guess. I want to hit, and that's June. That late, or that end mark for me is June. And so, what that's going to look like for us, if we're not quite where we want to be, so if we think that we can get where we want to be at that benchmark, then I'm probably gonna keep doing that and keep doing this full time as like my job. But it's gonna be the difference for me whether or not I go back to a 9 to 5 or not. Now, some of the things that I've worked on, and some of the things that I've like accomplished, or that we've accomplished during this time, it's work that I've already done. And so it's not work that I need to do again. It's just work that I need to maintain, which is a little bit less of a lift than having to start from the ground up. Right. And so there's a world that exists where we can still keep doing what we're doing, where I'm not constantly grinding all the time. Right. And so I'd like to not be grinding as so if I am going back to a normal 9 to 5, I'd like to not be grinding quite as much, and still just do this for fun, basically. But yeah, so right now the goal is I would love to not have to do that. I would love to get to a place where I'm feeling good about the value that this is bringing, not only into our household but also to the world around us, and feel like that is worth my time, and like the investment of my time, basically. And so yeah, I know that sounds nebulous, but I do have numbers. I do have core things in my mind that we're striving for. But yeah, I think that's my goal, and it's a very practical one, and it probably is a little bit less mushy and gushy than what I probably want it to be. But that's very real.
Okay.
Yeah, part of my I don't know if hesitation is the right word to answer this question is it really is you that's putting in the effort. I'm just kind of here.
This says the guy that just did a 2.5 hour presentation about
Yeah,
Magic
but
rules,
that's
and
not
after
like
spending many hours during the week to like make this presentation.
yeah, but like that's like I don't know. That's very like front facing like content centric stuff. Like I'm not going or like talking to brands trying to like or like you're handling like applying to events for us and stuff like that. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of the mechanics of this that you are propelling.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mentioned this once, and that was this is less of a content goal and more of a personal aspiration. But I will come back to I would love to do an Innistrad stream.
There you go.
And these are things that you have been working on, but I will add them to the conversation. We would love to make guest appearances on either Tolarian Community College Wheel of Sealed and or Loading Ready Run pre-release. Either of those would be one or both of those would be
We
great.
play so much limited. We just feel like we'd be really fun guests if you're listening. No kidding, but yeah. So I think those are some solid dreams for sure.
Yeah.
But I just
Okay.
think it's less of a content exposure thing, and more of just I think those people are really wonderful. I've not actually met the professor
Yeah.
before, but we got to meet Loading Ready Run at the or a lot of the cast of Loading Ready Run at the face-to-face event, and oh my
I,
goodness, they are so
I,
lovely and so much fun to
I
spend
saw
time with.
Mm. I saw the pictures. I saw the pictures. I'm
Yeah,
gonna bring
and
that up.
they are just every bit as lovely as what you think that they are. And so I would just love to play limited with them. I think that they are great gamers. I think they're a lot of fun to spend time with, and I think that we would have a lot of fun. But I think I love that the professor highlights formats that aren't just Commander, and I
Mhm.
like love how much he loves limited. And so, and I don't think he gets to play it as often as what me, because I mean, viewership is in the commander field for sure. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it. I get why maybe he doesn't do it quite as often as what he otherwise might like to. But like, I don't know. I would just love to be part of the team of people that makes limited seem fun to the masses. Again, paper limited to see, you know, I would love to do that. And I think those two groups are doing that really well.
Yeah, I love that. I think you both are doing it really well too. So I hope you realize that and recognize
Aw,
that. And
Thank
thanks.
you. Yeah.
I truly mean it. Watching you two do what you do has made me feel more apt to want to do, even if it's only on Arena, like do the drafts, do the sealeds, do some kind of limited events that I wouldn't do otherwise
Yeah.
because it feels difficult to do sometimes because you're using a part of your brain that you don't normally use because it has to be
Hmm.
in a time frame. Like you have to get this done. You have to pick this card before like
Yeah.
in a minute, and then 30 seconds, and then blah blah blah, and then
Yeah.
build this deck so you can actually finish this thing. Like it feels very overwhelming. It feels very daunting.
Yeah. It
And I
certainly
think you
can.
two. And I think you two make it seem so easy. Whether or not it actually is easy is a different situation. But you two make it seem really easy.
It definitely gets easier the more you do it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it's a practiced thing. I think understanding how to evaluate cards in real time is really a skill that you can develop. And I that's part of what's exciting about it to me. Like I
Mm.
love being able to do something that I feel like I can practice and get better at. Now with Commander, you can become a good deck builder, but like when you sit
Yeah.
down at a table with three other people, anything can happen, and so much of that equation is out of your control that it's not really a strategic endeavor so much as a social one. Now it can
Yeah.
be, there can be strategic components certainly, but at least for me, most of the strategy is in the deck building like ahead of time, and then just doing the best I can with the wild ride that the commander game is whenever you sit down at the table. But when I do feel like there's just a lot more that's in your control, and there's a lot more you can strategize about, a lot more that you can practice, a lot more that you can get better at in a like competitive environment, certainly even in constructed, but also in a I think also in a limited environment. I think yeah, you can practice it, you can get better at it, and that just scratches a different part of my brain
Mm.
than Commander does. Commander very much scratches like the Settlers of Catan. If we're equating things to board games, Commander
That's a
scratches the part of my
really
brain
great.
that Settlers of Catan scratches, right? And then
That's a
limited or
great
other
shout.
1v1
Yeah.
competitive stuff really scratches like if I'm playing chess. Like they're both board
Yeah.
games, right? But it's a
Yeah.
very different thinky thing, and like there's 50% of the game is in your control of when you're playing chess. And I feel like that's a lot more the case in like 1v1 formats. And so and you play those games for very different reasons. You can say you love board games and mean that you love chess or mean that you love Settlers of Catan, but it's a completely different gameplay experience, and they're fun for very different reasons. And so I very much look at Commander as a different game than most of Magic the Gathering, and I like them both. But yeah, limited's great for its
I
own
think
reasons.
that's a really good comparison. I've never heard anyone compare it like that, but it is very Settlers Catan versus chess. That's a really wow. Okay, yeah. Thank you for
Out of brain.
you did. Yeah, my brain's a little broken, but I do that did actually have one more question, and then we'll finish up here. I really enjoy hearing both of you talk because both of you are really smart and have really good thoughts here. One board game, if you could suggest people try today.
Board game. Love it.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have one?
Yeah, I know you do, so I'm gonna let you. Well, actually, if you don't, then I do.
Go for it.
Okay, so we recently learned a game called Fromage. It's a game about cheese, and it's very fun. And I won't spoil too much about it, but the cool thing about I love games that have an interesting gimmick and that the gimmick adds value to the game. And for Fromage, you're only playing with a section of the section of the board that is facing you at any given time, but the board rotates, and it rotates 90 degrees every turn. And so you have to not only deal with what's in front of you, but you also have to figure out, okay, well, then I'm going to need these pieces available to me because it's like kind of a worker placement game. I need these
Yeah.
pieces available to me for when the board rotates in 2 turns. So how am I going to make sure that these are freed up in enough time? So like it's a little bit spatial, and it's a little I think it's really it's thinky in a really fun way. So I will say that for me is probably my favorite game that I've played recently. I'm bad at favorite questions, so usually my favorite questions are heavily biased by chronologically, or I have heavy chronological bias
That's fair.
for my favorite questions. But that one's my favorite right now.
Okay. For me, I don't know that this is necessarily a game that I would recommend everybody try. But I would recommend for probably anyone in the Magic or Magic adjacent spheres of hobbies. One of my favorite board games right now is Spirit Island, which, if you've played Settlers of Catan, Spirit Island is Settlers of Catan in reverse.
Oh,
It is a cooperative game where all of the players represent these great spirits that live on an island, and there are settlers coming to the island to inhabit it and take it over, and it is your goal to drive them away.
So
I
you're
love
not
that.
settling an island. You are preventing people from settling an island.
Yes, but the game is it's cooperative. One of the downsides, I think, of cooperative board games is a lot of times players have access to all of the information that everyone else has access to, and so it can become a situation where, if the three of us were playing a cooperative board game, all three of us are taking my turn, and then all three of us are going to take Steph's turn.
I think that really turns people off from cooperative games sometimes. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a lot of people's
Yeah.
experience with them.
Whereas Spirit Island, there's no mechanic inherent to the game that hides information from players. Like, all the information I have, I can freely share with the other people playing the game. But there's just a lot of information. And so, in order for every player in the game to track all of that would just be too much. And so it becomes a lot more of, hey, I think I can deal with this problem on the board as long as, Steph, you can handle this thing. And so but because of that, the game there's a lot of moving parts to it, and so that's kind of why I wouldn't recommend it for just anybody. But if you are already like a big fan of
If you're a
playing,
gamer,
yeah, if you're already a gamer, you're already playing Commander or other board games, like,
you don't
um,
mind a little bit of complicated rules.
yeah, there's deck building aspects to it. There's board control, almost kind of like worker placement ish aspects to it. It's just very fun.
And
Awesome.
I think it's complicated in a rewarding way.
yeah, I think it's a very important ingredient for board games for me. I want them to be exactly as complicated as they need to be in order for you to extract the desired fun that the designers wanted you to have out of it, right? And so if it's too much more complicated than what it needs to be in order for you to have the fun thing happen to you, then I don't tend to like it. If it's not complicated, and if it's not complicated enough, I also tend to not like it. But if it is, like, I want it to be appropriately complicated. And so if there is, I'm not averse to really complicated games. I'm not averse to really simple games. I want those two things to align, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want what the fun that I'm supposed to get out of it, and the level of complexity that I want those two things to align with each other.
Yeah. I think that is a fair assessment because you never want anything to be super easy and not fun, obviously,
Yeah.
or very hard and not fun. And then, like, how many board games have people bought and then never played again because it was needlessly complicated and not rewarding
Exactly.
whatsoever,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
needlessly easy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like, there are a few games that we own that
mhm.
we enjoyed, but then the company that made it made a simplified version of it. And in almost every case, those games have been the smaller, less complicated version of the game has been a more rewarding experience, because
Yeah.
some of the complicated elements of the big game were just not
They didn't add
necessary.
value to
Yeah.
it. They didn't add value. And
Yeah.
I think a great example of that is Mysterium and Mysterium Park. Now, Mysterium's a great game. It's what we call in the business an asymmetrical cooperative game where everybody's working together for a common goal. But yeah, there's a game called Mysterium Park. It is probably a quarter of the physical footprint of the original game. Takes probably a third as long as the original game does, but I feel like every bit of the fun that I got out of Mysterium, I got out of Mysterium Park. And it's a very similar game from a rules construction perspective. And so yeah, and I think that Everdell has done something very similar. Everdell has an addition. So I loved Everdell, and Everdell's one of those games. It's a completionist asshole's nightmare where you just kind of like collect all of the things. There are so many expansions, so many whatevers. Great. One of the things that they did is they made a game called Far Shore, which is, I think, a leaner version of Everdell. It takes all of the cool things that you love about the game and makes it a little bit cleaner. And I think I like that game better.
I love.
So
I'm gonna have to get these recommendations from you later. I haven't been able to write all of them down, but I do want
we
to
have
like
so
try.
many. We have
Yeah.
so many.
You can send me as many as you want. My wife and I love board games.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
So we're all about playing them. I actually am going to finally wrap this up before Sullivan messages me again when he listens to this and say, "Stop doing the Midwest goodbye. Bring me a hot dish." But Steph, Brad, this has been such an amazing time. Truly, like I said at the beginning, I haven't actually gotten to like speak with you two very much. We've had our interactions through the chats and
Yeah.
whatnot. But this was truly a pleasure, and
Yeah,
I
this
thank you
this
so
has
much for
been
being here.
great. Thank you so much for taking the time to
Yeah,
hang out with us today, and I appreciate
absolutely.
your patience in scheduling this with us. I
Oh,
know I was not super responsive initially, but yeah, seriously, like thank you
no,
so much for this, and thank you for making time.
no, absolutely. Do you have any things you want to plug? I know you have Magic Con coming up, but do you have any other things that you want to plug right now?
I mean, I don't know when this comes out, but we are in a few weeks. We're going to be in the northeast in a little bar in Connecticut somewhere. I don't know. Elder Dingus Highlanders hosting an event up there, and we're going to be playing Magic in a brewery for a couple hours with a couple of different creators, and it's like open to the community. Whoever wants to show up can show up and play some games with us. So that's going to be fun. That's first weekend of March. I believe it's March 7th. And yeah, then we were gonna go to. So we're not sure whether or not we're gonna go to Shoebox. We have it on the schedule or had it on the schedule. Ended
Mhm.
up pulling out of our event responsibilities for that because we just weren't sure whether we were going to be there or not. We wanted them to be able to
Mhm.
plan, but we would still very much like to go. We're just gonna we're so that, anyway. You might see us at Shoebox, but you for sure are gonna see us in Las Vegas. So we will absolutely be there at MagicCon. So that's what's on our schedule. We have a few SCG things that are in the waiting in the wings to get finalized here as well. But at the very least, those things.
Well, if you go to Cincinnati, I might see you there. So
Cincinnati is one such thing that is on our radar.
yeah,
So we will see. We will see.
yeah, we'll figure that out. But Brad, stuff. Thank you. Make sure everyone to go follow Steel City MTG on Twitch specifically and Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok if you want to, but
TikTok is
understanding.
going to be if you want to do it, you can. Just don't be prepared to be
Yeah.
impressed. Yeah, yeah. We're words people. We're not really video people. So Blue Sky is a great bet. Twitch is a great bet, honestly. And yeah.
Threads if you want to see Steph's thoughts on things like heated rivalry
Oh
and
yeah, I'm a little
but
bit of an unhinged gremlin on Threads. I don't recommend that to anybody, but if you're there, I thank you and I'm sorry. I'm
I
not sure what's
highly
your
recommend it.
priority. Yeah.
But go check them out, especially if you want to learn more about limited and magic in general, because they're a wealth of knowledge. And I don't know, I don't think I've gotten to tell you all this. I've started playing in the 90s, late 90s. I played, it's the professor thing. I stopped in high school, kind of like did the thing, and then I came back at Cat fully, like
Okay.
full fledged came back at Cat, and getting to watch you two play a bunch of the sets that I didn't get to see, talk about some of the mechanics that I didn't get to interact with as much. I've learned so much, even as someone who's seen a shit ton of stuff that has happened in Magic. So thank you so much for being just such pools of knowledge that anyone can learn from if they will just sit there and take the time to actually
Oh,
listen.
well, thank you.
Yeah,
No, no
thanks.
problem. No problem. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We really truly appreciate it. Again, make sure you to like, subscribe, share, put on the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. And if anything else, please remember that when despair tries to win, counter with hope. Have a great day.